This video is going to be about a product called Noico sound deadening, and I also use the thermal barrier. The sound deadening I use is 80 mils. The thermal barrier I use is, I think, 315. Comes in a box. It is folded. Didn't cause me any problems because it's folded. It's a great product if you're thinking about it. I like it. This video is going to go over a few different things. I just pieced together a couple of videos. It's going to be how I installed it, a little piece over here, how I did that, how I did the doors, and at the end there are some little sound bites where I just did some knocking before and after, and it came out pretty good. So if you're thinking about this product, I'd use it again. I really like it. It's a lot. The price is for $65 a box. It took me 2 boxes to do every square inch. I did on the top of the dash where the air channel is. I did in the kick panels. I did the doors. I did inside every little crease. And I still had a little left of the 72 square feet I had. So for about 130 bucks, did have to buy the foil tape to go with it. Get yourself a decent foil tape. So I bought that. It took me a roll and a half of tape to do it, to seal all the seams. But if you're really thinking about it, watch the video or end at this point. It's a good product. I like it. I'll use it again. All right, I want to go over, I'm putting in this sound deadening material, and I'm going to butcher the name. Noico, N-O-I-C-O, Noico. Really good product. I'm not sure if you can see that name there, but it's really good. It's a lot cheaper than the high dollar ones. This is more like $50 for 36 square feet. And I bought 2 boxes, and it looks like it's going to handle everything plus. Because I've already done the back here. I've done the floor. I'm doing the firewall now. The thing is, since I'm putting in Vintage Air wants you to make sure that you do not have any insulation or anything right in this area where the unit goes. So I have to make sure I get that right. The other thing is trying to figure out the best way. This stuff is kind of heavy. I mean, this piece is light enough to pick up, but you know, the whole box is real heavy. It's 80 mils that I'm using for the sound deadener, and it does have a thermal product like this that's 300 mils thick, and I'll be putting that on the firewall. A couple of things I got to watch out for is where the air conditioning unit goes from Vintage Air, you can't have any insulation. They normally have you take it off the firewall, so I don't want to put it there. The other thing I'm looking at, because the piece of that last piece I took in came about halfway up on the floor here, and I went to figure out, and I'm looking for 2 things. One is the scissors and my tape measure. So I am using my trusty old pair of, I don't know how long I've had these things, but they're old. They're great, they're long, and for this stuff, they work fantastic. Now, a couple things I'll tell you. If you're trying to figure out, you know, how you're going to cut a piece, what I do, it's got a sticky back on it. It's got the paper to protect it. I leave that on until I'm dead sure the piece is going to fit where I'm going to put it. Sometimes you got to bend this around things, and it's going to change what you need. Now, I went to see how much space I need here. It says 19.5 inches. The cool thing is, this thing's 19.5 inches long. The other thing, I got one little angle cut here, so what I'm going to do is find the longest width, which is just at 8 inches, and the shortest width is just at 7.5. So I know if I cut a piece 8 inches and then cut the groove into it, I'm gonna have the piece that fits in there really good. The stuff, when it comes in, so this is three pieces, pretty heavy. I haven't weighed it, so I can't tell you how heavy it is, but this is 3 pieces. It comes in folded. Some people complain about the fold, think it's going to be real thin there. This is not insulation, it's a sound deadener. You do not have to cover the whole floor with it. Some kits just show you to where you put the parts, and it'll do all the sound deadening you need. I'm just putting it on everything. So where the creases are, once you roll this stuff down, you get about that thickness anyway, so it doesn't bother me. You know, a lot of people like to get the full sheets in boxes. These are folded. I really don't care. It hasn't made any difference to me. The main thing, make sure you got a good heat gun. I'm doing this in, I guess it's considered Texas winter. It's probably 50-something degrees out. It's real easy to heat these up with the heat gun. You heat it up on the metal side. A couple of tricks I learned when you heat this. Since you heat in the metal side heats up pretty good, so you don't want to burn through it. You just heat it up. I don't think you'll burn through it. But the good thing is I can heat them up and put them aside, and it seems like the metal holds the heat and it soaks into the material this is made of. So I found out that I can heat pieces up and put them aside for a few minutes, and they stay pliable, and that's what you want. So I got to cut. Cool thing about having the long scissors, you really don't have to make a line. You make your marks. Now, some people say wear gloves, they can cut yourself to tinfoil. I haven't worn gloves yet, and I have not cut myself, but I understand that you can cut yourself with this, so I'm being real careful with it. Now, to cut this, it cuts really good. I mean, it's stiff enough that it's not wobbling on you. And all I did was make a few marks. I didn't have to sit there and do a straight line. This guy can cut almost a third of the way down, so it's nice to have a long scissor to do it, and it cuts real easy. Now I'm going to kind of do a temporary fit. There is a bend up in here, and I'm going to show you what I do to figure out how do I get the bends. So 2 things, there was a curve here, part of the fresh air passage, which should be somewhere about a 1/2 inch. And then I got this little curve back to here. This stuff doesn't need to be exact. It's okay if you're 1/4 inch off. It's a sound deadener. It does not have to be on every inch. The more you have, the better it is. But it's not a critical thing if you don't have it in every spot. So it cuts real easy. I check the fit again, see where it's at. So what I do is I crease it. For me it works, maybe it's just the way I do it. I cut on the inside of my crease to get my angle. So it's okay, you know, if it's not right, I usually leave extra and keep cutting. So you can see, I actually bent it around every place, and that tells me what I got to cut off. This stuff is really easy. You push it into the corners, and that will give you your marks where to cut. And the other thing I did, I just took the marker now and drew the line. Hold it back, and I can cut all that off. All right, another test fit. Alright, now that I got a good pattern, there's some creases in there that I'm going to have to work around, and I'll work around those. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by taking the top off, not taking the whole piece off, and then work this down while I'm putting the piece on. I could heat it up, but it's pretty pliable right now. Remember, work it into the creases first, then work out. And remember, when you work it into the creases, the piece is going to get shorter. That's why you got to take into consideration that you're going to lose some. It's not going to shrink so much that it's going to mess things up, but it might shrink a 1/4 inch if you don't want these big gaps, even though you're going to tape them or fill them in. Make sure you take in consideration whenever it has these indentations. That's going to take extra material to fill those. And what I'm doing right now is I'm pushing into an indentation here and making sure I got that first. And then I'm going to the other side and I'm pushing around it so I can get the piece in place where it's going to fit. I do that on both sides and work the piece in. Now, right here, there's these tabs that hold the carpet. I got it close. I got a little mark there, but I don't have it down yet. So I can feel where it is. Punch a little hole. And then work it through. Making sure I'm pushing into all the crevices. If you don't get the crevices first when you go to roll it, it's going to rip the tin foil, whatever they call it, tin foil. I call it tin foil, and it's going to rip in that spot. You'll have to tape it over. Also, when you're using this skinny guy, be real careful. These edges don't look sharp. They don't feel sharp. They should have beveled them a little bit. But these edges will rip through this real quick on the skinny one. So be careful of that. I haven't had that problem with this, except getting onto the edges. The edges on this will do the same. Alright. Now it works the best when it's press fit onto the metal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work around the edges. I'm not worried about this support here that I wrapped around. You could have cut it, had it hanging out. I don't care. I don't think that thing's going to make too much noise, so I'm not really worried about pushing it down. Thing is, with this roller, it's got these marks on it. It will let you know if you push this down far enough, because these have a diamond pattern on it, and with the roller you'll get rid of the diamond pattern and you put the new pattern on of what the roller is, so you know you've done a good job when the diamond pattern has been squished down. Then I did notice, a lot of people said this stuff you can pull back up. It is sticky, but I did find out. I tested it. The stuff that was on here was a tar based, and that stuff I had to not only scrape off, grind off, everything I could. This stuff will peel back off. Good thing about that, I like it, is when you're sticking it down, you can, if you haven't really rubbed it down yet, you can peel it back and move it. Now the other thing is, you can also, if you rubbed it down, peel it off. Not easy, but it's doable if you ever needed to replace it. I wouldn't peel a piece off and try to reuse it though. Now, I can't get this in every spot. I'm going to be real careful with this guy because I do know this guy will rub through. So what I was saying to myself is I got to be careful on the edges. I'm trying not to, because this guy, if you get it off a little bit, it will rip right through it. The small one, I found out. I'm trying to be super careful. Alright. That piece is done, and that's more of a more complicated piece than these pieces. The thing is, when you're doing a piece like this is the actual bench seat support. Remember what I said, I worked from the middle out this way. I also worked from the middle out this way on these pieces here. The other thing is when you get to like this, and hopefully you can see this good, this is a raised part of the floor. I work to it and then bend the piece down and then go like this and then bend this side down and work it that way. If you just lay it out and start rubbing, when you get here, you'll be able to get the rubber material to go down, but you're going to rip the tin foil and you're going to have to retape it anyway. So while you're putting the piece down, remember, wherever you have these indentations, I work all those first. From when I look it out and I figure out if I'm going this way, I'll work them out, work down, then do this one, work down, do this one, work down this way, holding the piece and peeling the paper back as I'm going. So the paper might be stuck, and I'm peeling it back as I'm going, putting the piece down. This little piece, I took the whole paper off, but on these big pieces, I did half and half and worked it. In other words, I would peel the paper back halfway. Basically, let's say I peeled this paper back here. Then what I would do, I'd take the paper side, lay it down, come here, push it into the groove, because this is, it's got the glue on the back, and then I'd bend it, and then bend it again as I'm going, and sticking it down till I get to here. Then I would take this piece, peel the paper off this way, and start going in this direction. Kind of works for me. This way, you don't have to worry about sticking this big sheet down at once and it's sticking and trying to move it. The good thing I like about this stuff, if it does touch, you can peel it back because you didn't rub it down yet. And you can pull it back off. This leaves a nice pattern. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's a diamond pattern on this. And when you rub down, you're actually flattening the diamond pattern. Plus it's got grooves on it. It leaves another pattern, so you know it's stuck down good. A lot of these pieces, I didn't make templates. What I did was middle out, and then filled in the gaps, right? The corner pieces, and I always left extra if there's ridges, because as you push it in, just remember it's getting smaller and smaller. So if you're putting in these pieces here and you're working your way out, you can leave a little extra on the ends, cut it later. I cut everything with a scissor. I don't use a box cutter, none of that. Scissor works great. I don't have to get it to an exact edge on the end because I'm going to tape all this down anyway, and I want the tape to stick to the old floor. So there's a gap, and that's fine because it's a sound bit, and it's worked really good. I got some tests that I did just tapping, and they all sounded like this. Don't know if you can hear that, but now it sounds like this. More of a thud. And I'm hitting them about the same. High-pitched thud, tap to more of a thud. That back wall really sounded just like this. I got some tests. I'll put them at the end. I'll have a comparison. Hopefully that helps. I did not do a sound test and all that. All I did was knock. And there's a huge difference. So it's good. Now I did use lizard skin as an undercoating right? So I got lizard skin, and I got their ceramic paint on top of that, which is supposed to be heat shield. That did pretty good on the floor, but you can't do that on the side panels. So yes, the floor's got a lot more. A lot of road noise, engine noise and stuff comes under the floor. But these side panels really, really made a big difference with just this product. So, and I'll have the name of the product in the description so you'll know what it is. That's about it. Show you how to do that piece. It's real easy. I mean, these corner pieces, the way I did those, laid the piece down, just pushed on it to get a. Cool thing is, it's got that tinfoil. It will save the pattern you pushed into it. Not sure if you can see that real good, but it laid a pattern. After that, if you want, you can trace it out. What I did, I just cut on whatever side I needed of the pattern, and it all worked out great. So the product is good. I like it. I've used products like it. They got all the top name brands. They're 3 to 4 times more expensive than this. This cost me about $100 to do the whole inside of the truck. I'll probably have a few, and I even did the, the ceiling. So ceilings, floors. I'll have plenty to do in here. And I think I'll have some left over for $100. On the high dollar names, and I'm not going to say them, everybody knows who they are. That would have cost me anywhere from $300 to $500 to do the same thing. And I think this product, a lot of people like it. It has really good reviews. And right now, I like it. I'd use it again. It's easy to install. I wanted to make sure that it sticks. People were complaining that they could peel it back off. I don't think it's going to fall down. I don't think, even if that gets hot up there, it's going to let loose. I mean, it doesn't come off that easy. But I'm happy with it. And for $100, it's well worth it. At least for this inside of this truck. 236 square feet boxes. There's 9 of these in a box. And I think I'm going to have 4 or 5 sheets left over. I might get crazy and do every inch I can get. The other thing is, these doors are really hard to get into. I think I can get a couple of strips in there. I did spray boom mat, so I did use product name, inside here, because I didn't think I was going to be able to get pieces in there, because this hole is real small. You don't have a lot of room. But I think I can get a piece in there, and they said you don't need to do the whole door. So I'm going to try to get a piece kind of in the middle and see if it helps. But I did spray the boom product in there, and I sprayed the boom product in here, and areas that I didn't think I could get this in. And between those two products, I think it's going to work out great. So I'm going to stop babbling and get back to work. So, all right, I want to show you something. Going this way makes it a lot easier, so I can push in. See how I'm going this and then moving this way? Because what's going to happen is that's going to pull in and use a piece of it. So get down here, get into the edge, try to get the air bubbles out. I found out that if you get stuck with an air bubble, all you got to do is punch a hole in the tinfoil. If you got the tinfoil tape, you can match it. You can put it back on. But what I done when I found bubbles, I punched a hole in it, just like any other thing, and then worked the air out of it. The rubber in the back, when you push it down and you finally, it's going to seal it up, because you're only going to make a little pinhole in it. And you take a piece of tinfoil tape, put it over it. But as you can see is, I'm working in the edges first. Not even doing this part. Working these in first and moving. And I'm going to go around and finish it up. But you can see how it's a lot easier to work these in first Work these in and then keep going. You work the next one in. Because if you don't, and then you're going to have a gap when you try to push it in, it's going to try to stretch and the tinfoil is going to rip if you don't work the grooves in as you're moving. Don't try to do the grooves at the end. Do them first. Because otherwise, they're not going to go in and all you're going to do is rip the tinfoil back in. All right, enough of that. I got to get back to work. I've done the doors. They came out great. I had the Dynomat spray in there and I thought that was going to be good. After putting the sound deadener on top of it, it made a huge difference. I mean, if you can get your hands in there, I mean, it's tight. You can get like a 19 by, I would say 24. And what I did the second time, by the way, when I did this the second time, I cut the piece the width of the window. I tried squeezing it through here with all these pieces missing, and you got to unfold it. But this time what I did was I cut it exactly the width of the window, and I think it was 19 inches. So this product is 19 and a half long, and I cut it 19. I actually slid it down here through the window groove, peeled the paper back, and then stuck it, put it where I wanted, and stuck it where I wanted it. I did run a couple extra strips around the areas where, you know, it's not wide enough from the piece. And like they say, you don't have to do 100% with the sound deadening. So I added a couple of strips. Both doors, that one I folded, and I thought that was an easy way. But cutting the piece, the width of the window and sliding it down the window channel was the easiest, because that hole is too small, and when you fold it and you try to unfold it, it's a pain. So piece cut the size of the window, get that in there, get it where you want, stick it in, rub it down, and then you can add extra little strips. Remember, on the sound deadener, you do not need 100% coverage like I did. But I wanted it. I wanted to get as much noise. These things are tin cans going down the road. So I finally finished. Used all I could use. Out of 2 boxes at 36 square feet to do the whole truck. And I did the roof, the back panel, I did the floor, I did the firewall all the way up, I did the inside panels there. I also did, oops, sorry about that. Did up in here underneath where the air duct is. I did all that. I don't know if you can see it all, but that's all done. I also did all the way down in the back panels there. So I got 1 1/3 piece left. That's about 4 square feet. So 72 square feet does everything. Oh, I also did the doors, inside the doors there. So it gets you everywhere. A little bit left over. I could probably use every bit, just find a spot and tuck it in. But I think I'm done. I went back wall, floor, doors, both doors, inside the kick panels, the start of the firewall floor, the firewall, the air duct panel that's underneath the dash. I did all that. Then I took the thermal, you can see that's that dark stuff, put that on top on the firewall. Still got a lot in case I want to put it further down, but I think it'll be good because my carpet, I paid extra to have a thermal barrier put on it, and it's a rubberized barrier. You get that, I forgot what it's called, but it looks like cotton mushed up, you know. They give you that insulation, plus you can pay for extra insulation, which I did. So I think I'll be fine on the floor, because I'm gonna have, what I have is I got lizard skin sprayed underneath the truck, the lizard skin sound barrier. I also have lizard skin thermal barrier sprayed underneath the truck. Then on the inside, I went sound barrier, thermal barrier. So hopefully this thing is going to be fairly quiet because it is tin can. I took some before and afters of tapping on the panels. Didn't do a dB meter. I just went tapping on the panels. I went from a very high tingy sound, kind of like that, to more of a thud. So it's doing its job. I am happy with the product. Product is easy to lay down. I heard some people complain that you can peel this back up. Yes, you can peel it back up. It does come off, not real easy, but you can pull it off. After having to take the old, which I think was a tar-based sound barrier that they had on the truck, they didn't do it right. They didn't seal the tunnel right, the transmission tunnel cover, and it leaked. It leaked underneath their sound barrier. It was a mess. I had to fix the floor, do some work, yank that stuff out. Man, it was a pain. I had to use a heat gun. I had to scrape it. I had to grind it. I used glue remover. It took me probably 5 days to remove the old one just to work on the floor. Luckily, I removed it because what this guy did was just patched it. He put some fiberglass over some areas that were rusted that needed to be cut out. They just fiberglassed it over. They didn't even do a good job in the fiberglass. It didn't stick. Water got under there. It rusted even more. The water got in through the transmission tunnel. So what I did is I sealed it. I siliconed it. I used a gasket. I used silicone. Then I used seam sealer. If that thing leaks, I'll be surprised. But this is it. This product, I like it. It's very reasonable in cost. It's about $50, $60, about $100 to $120 to do the truck, which is great. Even with the thermal barrier, that was another. I probably could have bought 18 square feet of it, but I bought 36. I got most of it left over. I think more than half the box is left over, but I'll use that someplace else. Definitely well worth it. Easy to install. So I want to take note of the difference. I put some of this sound deadener in one of the doors. Now this door, I did spray boom mat. Did help a little bit. I say a little bit now. I thought it was pretty good then. But listen, this is on a bend. And then here's on the panel. The doors made a huge difference. I had this one. Earlier I had did some tests. See how the difference of this sounds. Listen. So when I put it on there, that should be a big difference. And see how it works. Okay, difference. I'm hitting that pretty hard. Might not look like it, but big difference in the sounds before and after. I recommend this product. It works for me. I hope it helps you.